So, as most of you are probably aware, there was a recent troll hashtag called Boycott Star Wars 7. Seriously, I fucking hate Twitter. How anyone could take this troll hashtag serious is beyond me. I mean, people are aware that Lando from The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi was black, right? Yet there wasn't a boycott of those episodes. And of course there was Mace from the prequel trilogy. Yet no one boycotted those episodes. And trust me, there was a real reason to boycott those movies, which had absolutely nothing to do with the race of one of the actors. I hate Jar Jar even more than fucking Twitter. But as is the common trend these days, a troll hashtag on Twitter seems to be big news. And The Guardian couldn't help but jump on the bandwagon of shitty journalism and blame the men's rights movement. I kid you not.
Star Wars: The Force Awakens has shocked racist trolls. Should it? White supremacists and men's rights activists were calling for a boycott of the film, but as the ultimate blockbuster, it's unlikely it will prove all that radical.
Do you know what I hate more than Twitter and Jar Jar Binks combined? Fucking dishonest journalist scum. Fucking unbelievable. Seriously. So let's look at the evidence that this hashtag has anything to do with the men's rights movement. There is one paragraph that mentions the men's rights movement and has a citation. It reads,
"There are various ways to hate Star Wars when it comes to racial and gender diversity. The first way, also known as the stupid way, has been taken up by a bunch of men's rights activists and open white supremacists on the Boycott Star Wars 7 hashtag, angered by previews and press and now a new trailer suggesting that the characters in the new Star Wars film may not all be white men. These lonely warriors have struck back, but with hapless bigotry in place of stormtroopers. If white people aren't wanted in Star Wars, then our money must not be either," one declared. Another muttered darkly about Jewish activist J.J. Abrams. "Nobody tell them about Carrie Fisher."
So when I clicked on the citation, it took me to another article by The Guardian on the topic of the Boycott Star Wars hashtag, which doesn't mention the men's rights movement once. Nothing. Not a single mention. Which makes it a very strange citation. Even more so considering the title of the article actually states that it's a troll hashtag. Which leads me to the unavoidable conclusion that the author of the first article just made up the connection to the men's rights movement. You know, like most journalists do. Well done, Guardian. Well done. Who cares about journalistic integrity, right? But it gets worse, as the author then goes on to interview someone called Jonathan Rosenbaum, who says,
"The success of this movie convinced studio heads that movies should be made to sell merchandise, that antisocial 10-year-old boys are the viewers to target, and that anyone who thinks otherwise about movies can take a hike." He added, "If every existing print of Star Wars were burned to a crisp, just like Luke's aunt and uncle, I doubt that the world would be a much better place, because the changes it has helped to usher in are already part of the modern world. But I don't think I'd shed any tears."
And
for Rosenbaum, Star Wars is a symbol, not of diversity, but of homogeneity. That homogeneity isn't, directly, about the cast of the film. Rosenbaum doesn't point out that in the first trilogy, Luke has to fall in love with his sister because there basically aren't any other women in all of explored space.
Admittedly, there was a larger male cast than a female cast, most of whom served as cannon fodder, by the way. But our author seems to have missed that the head of the rebels was in fact female. And Leia was not only a princess and a senator at the age of 20, and one of the leaders of the rebellion, but she also held her own with any of the guys and even spoke back to Vader. In other words, she wasn't the type to get PTSD from comments on Twitter. Next.
The bad guys are nefarious, wear black robes and blow up planets, killing millions. The good guys wear white and kill millions too, presumably, since they detonate planet-sized spaceships. But some millions deserve to die. The cowboys knew that, out on the range. The future is defined by the same old atavistic carnage as ever, which is, as Rosenbaum says, on a genius form of doublethink echoed in the very premise of a fantasy of the future beginning with a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Seriously, they're actually comparing blowing up the Death Star to cowboys killing Indians? Fucking amazing. I think a much better comparison would have been the Allies stopping the Nazis in World War II. The Empire is obviously somewhat based on the Nazis. Considering Rosenbaum's name, I would hope he would agree that stopping the Nazis was kind of important. Imagine how much more important it would have been if they had a galaxy-wide empire and planet-destroying superweapons. Hardly comparable to cowboys killing Indians now, is it? The amazing thing about this article is that the author seems to have found a bigger lunatic from his own side than the trolls he thinks are real. Absolutely fucking amazing. Anyway, as a men's rights activist and someone who has been a huge Star Wars fan since the age of 8, which was a little while ago now, I can honestly tell you I won't be boycotting the new movie. In fact, I'm counting the days until it's released. Anyway, folks, that's it for another episode, so until next time, always remember,
don't drink the poison Kool-Aid.
Right, so I haven't really done a video in a long time about the men's rights movement and basically sticking up for them against the bullshit that they have to go through in order to talk about men's rights. And a link to this article was sent to me, mainly because it's being promoted by Steve Shives. And if anybody doesn't know, I've had quite a run recently of debunking shit that Steve Shives and people associated with Steve Shives have actually been saying about feminism, atheism, and Steve Shives is an outspoken person who speaks out against the men's rights movement, who has demonized it as a hate group in the past. So this is really relevant to what I've been talking about lately, and it gives me a chance to stand up for the underdog, really, which is the men's rights movement. So we'll go and take a look at what this guy's got to say. I think this guy is, his name is James Fell, and I think he's a fitness guy, talks about all kinds of fitness, but he also speaks out against the men's rights movement for some reason. So he says this: they suck. You know it, I know it. Many of them deep down know it too. He's talking about MRAs here, and I don't think they suck. I don't think they know they suck, because the reality is they're talking about legitimate men's issues such as male suicide, the family court issue, and amongst other things which are important to them. So I wouldn't think they would think themselves sucking for talking about issues like that. And he goes on to say, I'm talking about men's rights activists. They suck like the gravitational field of a neutron star. I don't know. I don't think many people have actually sucked the gravitational field of a neutron star. I've written about them a fair bit, starting off with a viral piece for Time magazine that was praised on CNN television, and finishing off with a viral piece for my blog that resulted in threats of violence from MRAs. Now, I haven't checked out his blog, and his accusation that he received threats of violence from MRAs may be true, but I think it highly unlikely, since what he does later on this article. And he kind of equates MRAs with another group, which aren't MRAs really. So I'm kind of thinking that the threats he got were from those people and not from the MRAs that he's talking about here, because he uses MRA as a slur. He uses it to slur men who he thinks are haters of women and misogynists. That's how he uses the MRA. So it's not really used properly in his article at all. That's why I'm a bit dubious about when he says he got threats from MRAs, because I don't think he did. He goes on to say, there were a few other pieces in between, but I didn't write the greatest expose of MRAs. I believe that